It is already years late, billions over budget, and obsolete. We should rebuild new state-of-the-art jails on Rikers Island, provide free bus service, and use those existing sites for housing and commercial development.
It's a betrayal not only of the law as it stands today, but also of what New Yorkers actually want. They don't want someone running to be the mayor of the city that will keep Rikers Island open.
I don't know, from day to day. Depends on which side of the bed this guy gets out of and how he's going to change his positions, because he wants to get people on the left and he wants to get people on the right, he wants to get people in the middle. The real Andrew Cuomo needs to stand up.
Welcome to NY1's Off Topic on Politics. I'm NY1 investigative reporter Courtney Gross. The mayor has been out of town all week and in Albania. Seriously, not joking about that. He was in Albania right after he decided to jump out of the mayor's race. So the race continues on. The mayoral candidates remaining address the anniversary of October 7th, obviously the attacks in Israel, and Cuomo flip-flopped on whether he wants Rikers Island to remain a jail facility. We will get you caught up on the race for mayor. And in the final weeks of the mayor's race, we're going to be taking a closer look at each of the top candidates. This week, we will be discussing the candidacy of the Republican candidate in the race, that being Curtis Sliwa. And Bobby Cuza may be an expert on
Albania?
Sure, yeah, Albania.
Is the mayor?
Can you point to Albania on a map prior to this week?
Prior to this week, I would have been close, but I might not have gotten it. By the way, are we sure the mayor is coming back from Albania?
We don't know.
First of all, what is the New York City of Albania?
Well, I think I heard
it's Staten Island.
No.
Isn't it?
What is the big city in Albania
Oh,
that would be
wait a minute.
equivalent?
You know what's funny?
Let me introduce you. Dan Rivoli is
That's
also
Dan
here,
Rivoli.
our resident Staten Island resident, no longer, but born and raised.
But wait a
Staten
minute.
Island.
The mayor, there's like this running joke for those who don't know that the mayor always says New York is the London of America, or like whatever. He always says New York is the capital city of America.
He makes comparisons to other cities
But this
across
week,
the world.
he said New York is the Albania of America, which made me think maybe
that
he
even
didn't
mean?
know the capital of Albania, which I also don't know. But the mayor
Should we know that?
should maybe have known the capital of Albania while he was in Albania. Do you want me to talk about Albania, by the way?
Yeah, let's just jump
The
right
mayor,
into it. I'm looking at
the mayor on
Albania
Sunday night,
capital.
City Hall on Sunday night announced that the mayor
Tirana?
was
Tirana.
the mayor was
The
going
capital,
to
sorry.
Albania, and I think someone said that the media advisory went out after he had already left.
That would not surprise me.
So this came as a surprise to most of us for a couple of reasons. I think it sort of raised eyebrows. First of all, we know the mayor has a penchant for international travel, which has landed him in trouble before. It was well documented in the federal indictment, 5-count federal indictment against him because of the flight upgrades and the free and discounted perks that he received. So the fact that he flies off to Albania on very short notice, I think, raised eyebrows, not only for that reason, but also because there's been so much speculation about a foreign ambassadorship, him being nominated by the Trump administration.
Speculation was about Saudi Arabia, not Albania, but who knows?
Yes,
right?
But that was, I don't know about you guys, that was the first thing that entered my mind. I thought, oh, maybe the mayor is, scoping out his new gig in Albania, checking out the embassy.
That is
The rationale for the trip, at least from City Hall's perspective, was that he's going to promote New York City for tourism purposes.
Yes, promoting economic activity and investment in New York City. I think he has a relationship with the foreign prime minister, and he met with the cabinet members and business people. He was posting photos on social media.
Për turizmin dhe për të parë se si të mund të ndihmojmë të shfrytëzojmë jo vetëm muajt që kanë mbetur në detyrë, por edhe muajt më pas detyrës për siguruar.
But, the mayor just dropped out of the race a little over, I guess now it's like almost 2 weeks ago. So, I guess he needed a break. I mean, he couldn't have done this if he was still running. But I think some people were wondering why go and take this far-flung trip when you're winding down your time in office. Maybe you should be working on some legacy projects. But I don't know, maybe he wanted to get away from us for a few days, us being the media, the press corps.
Definitely think it's the latter there. I mean, does this matter? I mean, he's now a lame duck mayor. I mean, we're so focused on the mayor's race anyway. Do we care about his whereabouts, Dan?
Well, we should know where his whereabouts are, but, you know, makes no difference. Albania, Macedonia, pick your Balkan country.
Also, he has these sort of random ties to Albania. Like I didn't know this until this week that his son, Jordan, actually, did you see this? He was he was in a TV show in Albania performing, rapping. It's their equivalent of America's Got Talent or whatever that show is.
Interesting. Okay.
So I was watching the video of Jordan singing on this Albanian TV show, but the mayor had never been there before. But we know the mayor loves all of these foreign countries, right? I mean, he has flag raisings for pretty much every foreign country. He had just a few months ago, he had a reception at Gracie Mansion celebrating Albanian culture.
City taxpayers are paying for the flights, but not for the stay in the hotels in Albania.
That's
so you are paying for this,
government.
trustee listeners. Okay, but let's move on to the mayor's race because the mayor's no longer in the mayor's race. We just wanted to keep you updated on where he was and the status of his lame duckness. Can we say that, lame duckness?
Duckness.
Yeah, sure. Why not? So I feel like one of the big, and maybe because I have a penchant for covering Rikers Island, as we know, one of the big storylines of the race this week was obviously at a Cranes forum. Well, we shouldn't even call it a forum. All of the major candidates appeared at Cranes breakfast event this week. And during that breakfast event, Andrew Cuomo, who has called for the closure of Rikers Island while he was governor, had supported the borough-based jails plan, had reversed course during this speech or this address to the Cranes breakfast, saying that he no longer believed in the borough-based jails plan, that it was a waste of money, over budget, and that the jails should be rehabbed, reconstructed on Rikers Island, and the borough-based jail sites should be turned into affordable housing. Coincidentally or not, this is exactly Curtis Sliwa's plan. So he's basically just cannibalizing that.
I'm curious why you called it a flip-flop and a reversal. I don't think whether it's a reversal or not is material. I think the issue is such a big deal for people who want to see Rikers closed or for people who live next to the proposed borough jails and hate the plan. But I'm curious because I don't want to get into like a ship of Theseus debate here, but he does want to build a new facility, tear down the old one, and the old facility had a lot to do with why there was so much violence and dysfunction on Rikers. The literal physical layout of it was hard to maintain. Inmates were making shivs out of the deteriorating, materials in Riker. It was laid out in such a way that correction officers couldn't properly keep it secure. So the physical infrastructure of Rikers led to a lot of problems. And I know rebuilding a jail does not solve the fact that it's on an island, but it does deal with a lot. And I'm just curious why you think that is still a reversal when, he is planning to build a completely new facility that would
not closing Rikers.
That's very different.
Well, how not? Why not?
Closing Rikers Island is closing Rikers Island. Rikers Island is obviously an island off the coast of the Bronx and Queens. It has been a notorious jail complex.
What is the material? What is the material importance
of Rikers Island?
Yeah,
closing.
What is the material importance of the location itself rather than the facility?
Everything, Dan.
Well, it's both things. It's the facility and the location.
It's proximity to the courthouses. The whole point of the borough-based jails plan is that you want to have jail facilities that are closer to your home communities as well as closer to the actual place where you're supposed to be on potentially a daily basis if you're facing trial. So that was the point of moving them to the other boroughs with the exception of Staten Island. All of these facilities are closer with the exception of the Bronx is not next to the courthouse, but Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan are very close to the courthouses, making transportation quite easier. There's obviously a stigma with Rikers Island and has been for decades because it's been a notorious, internationally known jail system, 10 facilities on that one island that have been riddled with violence, use of force. I mean, you can look at the metrics, particularly deaths, particularly within the last 10 years. So it is a stigma, which is why in 2016, the city council and the administration at the time, de Blasio, decided to move forward with the closure of Rikers Island and spent years coming up with a plan to build the borough-based jail system,
facility,
one which was endorsed by Andrew Cuomo at the time.
But a new facility could conceivably address a lot of the causes of that stigma.
It's like LaGuardia. He actually compared it to LaGuardia, which I just thought was fun.
This is just recognizing reality. It's not working. It's not working. It is billions over budget. It's years late.
So this reversal, and Rivoli it's a reversal, is kind of on brand for Cuomo, though, because it fits in line, and I'm stealing what you said on television, actually, Bobby, so I'm just kind of plagiarizing right here. But it's kind of within that law and order platform that he at least was running on for the primary.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say
kind of still is running on.
I thought you meant it's fitting that he flip-flops, which would, that's not what you're saying. No, but I think it's
I don't know how often he's flip-flopped.
It's on brand. I don't know if this is exactly what you mean, but in the sense that he's appealing to sort of the center and center right of the electorate, because this position of closing Rikers but then not closing Rikers and just rebuilding it on Rikers is a policy that you have only heard from moderate or Republican politicians, right? This is not a position that any Democrats, any progressives in the city have taken. So Cuomo, I think is appealing to that band of the electorate. I mean, the whole idea of closing Rikers in the first place and building these borough-based jails was very much a left-coded policy. I mean, especially if you go back to, 10 years.
Melissa Mark Viverito who came up with it.
Actually, the idea of closing Rikers was such a radical idea that de Blasio didn't want to do it. I think even Melissa Mark Viverito at first might have taken some warming up to it.
It was definitely within the advocate space, and like all those protesters saying shut down Rikers, and I can, I've covered Rikers forever, and I can just remember being like, yeah, that's never going to happen. And it's never going to happen.
But I think because the existing plan, the borough-based jails plan, has gone so off the rails, I think that a lot of, something had to give. And so I think it makes sense for a candidate to say, well, we need to come up with some alternative.
And say that the plan is going to stop the violence that is the reason why people wanted to close Rikers. And if you can make the argument that, one, I can build a physical space, two, in rebuilding that physical space, you are going to see less violence because it'll be easier to control the jail population there, and there won't be so many stabbings and slashings between inmates and correction officers.
But it's gone so far. It's so hard to reverse course. As of this point, the contracts are signed. I mean, the Rikers Independent Commission has said that it would cost more to build on Rikers Island than it would to continue and move forward with the borough-based jails. It just is so difficult to reverse. Mamdani, who's obviously in the lead in the race, supports the borough-based jails plan. And it's now Cuomo and Sliwa who basically have the exact same plans.
Wait, here's a question for you, Courtney, Rikers expert. They're building these new borough-based jails. I mean, some of them are or are any of them finished?
No,
right? Some of them?
My gosh, no.
I drive by the one on Atlantic.
Brooklyn is the furthest one ahead, and it's projected to be done until 2029.
Right, but it's going up. And if you want to turn it into affordable housing, is that even possible? Because they're already designed, right?
No, it's design build. So
they could conceivably change it as they go.
Building and designing at the same time, which is supposed to speed along the process. So I guess they could, but these contracts are worth billions upon billions of dollars. The idea that they all of a sudden would go for a much lesser, smaller project for affordable housing versus an entire jail. I mean, the scale of those projects is just, they're not comparable. I mean, this is community space and mixed space on the mixed retail space or something on the bottom in many of these cases, and then a massive facility on top. I mean, it's just. Well,
you can argue you can just get everyone into a room, hash it out, and say, what is it going to take to flip this to housing? But I mean, I guess that's the politics of it, is that if this is so reviled in the neighborhoods and the people who live around it, and say this is a better selling point, it's either, well, you could tie this up in court and you don't get your billions of dollars for the jails, or you could do it my way, which is kind of the Cuomo MO.
Yeah, I mean, this is him looking for votes. I mean, he was just in Chinatown and he was talking with that community, and that community is obviously against the Manhattan facility. It's not surprising here, but we should talk about Mamdani and what he did this week. He was, trying to, while Cuomo's looking for votes in the center, which is what this this policy and this shift and this flip-flop is really all about on the center and the right, then is that cynical?
No, I was laughing at the flip-flop. Oh. You keep working that in.
I do.
Yeah.
And then Mamdani is obviously just kind of hammering or just looking for just placating his base because of this bus ride that he had, right? He got on some bus. I don't ride the bus. I've never ridden the bus.
Courtney, it's the M50.
That's not true. I used to ride the bus when I
M57.
lived in Manhattan. I rode the bus that went down Fifth Avenue or something.
The slowest bus in the city, at least according to a recent report from Brad Lander.
Even in congestion pricing? Supposed to zip it up.
I think it was, what was it, 4.8 miles an hour on average?
But I think it was going 2 miles an hour when the reporters and Mamdani were riding it this week.
It's really not that much.
Is that worth $9?
$9?
Well, if you're paying the congestion pricing toll.
Yeah.
So
to me,
well, first of all, I think the idea of doing a photo op like this is such a no-brainer that I don't understand why politicians don't do this more often, right? Like Mamdani sends out a media advisory that he's going to be riding the bus and taking questions from reporters. Every news outlet in the city is going to show up for that because it's good video. It's a good picture. So,
but he's also so good at staying on message and on brand. He's like, oh, you guys want to talk about Israel, which we're going to get to, but like instead I'm going to ride the bus.
I've noticed this with Mamdani recently, that he has been so relentlessly on message, and it served him so well in the primary. It served him so well over the summer in the general election. And that relentless on message approach, it's starting to buckle under the weight of reporters' questions, where they're trying to get more and more into what kind of mayor is Mamdani going to be, and what really are going to be the effects of the policies he's presenting, especially the big three ones on the free bus, the free childcare, and the rent freeze. I was at a housing rally with him the other week, and I asked him a question about childcare, universal childcare, right? I said, when are you going to give out more details about this plan? How are parents going to access this childcare? And he said it was going to be modeled after the universal pre-K issue. My follow-up was, well, what are you going to tell a parent who's gets waitlisted, or they said, well, your child can get a seat, but it's 5 miles away in another borough, or maybe, God forbid, a voucher. And he said, well, I understand that that's the problem with 3K, right? They expanded universal pre-K into 3K. That was the issue. Parents couldn't get their kids in an acceptable seat. And he said, well, we're going to have to fix that 3K issue while we expand universal childcare to kids as young as 6 weeks old. That's a bigger cost beyond just the things he's proposing. So reporters are starting to press him a little bit on what these policies are actually going to
it's
mean.
Interesting that you say that he's buckling under the pressure because, the anniversary of October 7th, those awful violent attacks that occurred in Israel 2 years ago was obviously this week, and we were anticipating getting statements or what the candidates, we're going to see what the candidates were going to do, because we know that Israel and the issue of Gaza have been such an issue in the race. And even though Mamdani released the statement, he still got hit for it. Yeah,
even by the Israeli Foreign Ministry. And this isn't just, a war far off halfway around the world. You saw in Manchester, UK, two Jews at Yom Kippur services at a synagogue were attacked in a terror attack, lost their lives.
I will say, though, this is maybe the most emotionally charged issue in the city, but it has often been commented on that the mayor of New York City has almost no role in the conflict, right? And it has an outsized, I think, impact on the mayor's race and on local politics in general.
Well,
given
we're seeing protests.
Dan, you were covering this, so very quickly, can you just say what the statement was?
Well, the reason why Cuomo's didn't really cause an issue is, look, for the warring and the bombings, the killings and the hunger that happened October 8th and afterwards in Gaza, he set aside October 7th for the day that Jews were slaughtered, raped, killed, kidnapped, and addressed the Jews who were mourning worldwide, saying to the Jewish people, I stand with you, I mourn with you, and will fight anti-Semitism in all forms. Mamdani didn't mention Jewish people. He said, he called what Hamas did a horrific war crime. He mourned the Israelis killed and kidnapped, praised the return of hostages, and then talks about, for most of the statement, Israel and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the military response to the attack, Mamdani calls it launching a genocidal war and saying our government is complicit and must end, we must end the atrocities. Didn't mention Jewish people, and it went viral. And I think that is what Jews in New York who are not supportive of Mamdani take issue with is, are you going to be there for us? Because yes, these things are happening around the world, but we have protests here. The language is heated. There's harassment, there's vandalism, and you have to build the trust that you're going to take that seriously.
Yeah, I mean, the statement from Mamdani, it has 2 sentences about the October 7th attacks, and then it immediately pivots, and the rest of the 3 paragraphs of the statement are about Israel's response. So he got hammered. The Israeli Foreign Ministry put out a statement. And, there was a lot of criticism of him on the anniversary.
This is the new dividing line in democratic politics, is being a part of the anti-Zionist movement and the pro-Palestinian movement, that Mamdani is central to his politics, and Democrats who support Israel, but even the Israel supporters are starting to see the tide is changing and being more critical of Israel.
Yeah, I think the poll that's coming out today is going to be asking exactly those questions. Okay, let's take a brief pause there for our YouTube listeners. Just stick right with us. For our podcast listeners, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about Curtis Sliwa.
Cuomo ran no campaign. He has no skills with the public. He can't, and he's running the same campaign again, except now he's the ultimate flip-flop man. Today we were at Crane's. Now he comes in after me. Yeah, we're going to keep Rikers Island open. We're going to retrofit it. I said, wait, the guy wanted to close it a decade ago. What are you talking about? You had nowhere to house the inmates then.
Okay, so he is a New York institution. We know the beret. I mean, he's very familiar in the halls of NY1. When I first started here, he was always here at least once a week. But the beret is coming off. Curtis Sliwa is trying to appeal to a broader array of voters. Dan Rivoli, you are covering the Sliwa campaign. So just give us a brief synopsis, bio of who this guy is in case someone
the bio of Curtis Sliwa could take
Can
hours.
You just do it brief?
The seminal year in Sliwa's life and his public life is 1992. The Guardian Angels had been around for about 15 years at that point in 1992. He's got a radio show. He's as close to a household political name as you can get. And he takes a fateful taxi ride where a man in the front turns around and shoots him in the stomach, in the legs. And he is only able to survive by jumping out of an open window in the front seat.
It's like out of a movie.
It really is. It is a mob hit. And through through journalism, through law enforcement investigation, they believe this was the work of John Gotti, the head of the Gambino crime family, the Dapper Don, the Teflon Don. And Sliwa on his radio show have been trashing him all along. And they think it is Gotti's son, Junior Gotti, who organized the hit for that offensive remarks that Sliwa had been making on the radio. It went to trial. Junior Gotti hung jury after hung jury, but this was really the big moment for Sliwa. David Dinkins visited him in the hospital. And then the year goes on, and maybe with a guilty conscience, he has to admit to a reporter at the Guardian Angels, he had cooked up a few of those crimes that made, newspaper headlines. 6 crimes were total hoaxes that he cooked up, from muggings to attempted rapes, and it was just for publicity. And that was probably one of the low points in his public life. And just to read from a 1992 New York Times editorial on that, the Angels are reduced to a small force that do little more than patrol the block of West 46th Street known as Restaurant Row. Mr. Sliwa has moved on to a career as a radio host, but he still faces a hard question. Why should New Yorkers pay any more attention to a person who shows so little respect for their fear? I bring that up because from that low point, he ground out a reputation as being a street fighter, always on the subway, always talking to people on the bus, in the public housing developments, in neighborhoods you wouldn't see a Republican, and just earning the respect of New Yorkers, so that now when he's out campaigning, people are saying, "We love you, Curtis," shouting on the street. Maybe even, "We love you, Curtis, but you got to drop out." But They like him and they respect him.
I'm going to channel the 1992 New York Times editorial board, Bobby, and be like, why should we still pay attention to Curtis Sliwa? I mean, when he ran for mayor for the first time, right, in 2021, that was his first time running for mayor, he got 28% of the vote. I mean, with Cuomo now, I don't know if he's going to get that much, actually. I mean, just at one point earlier this summer when there was the 4 men still in the race, it felt like, oh, wow, Curtis actually could win this thing, because if they split the vote enough, perhaps Curtis would win. I mean, in my neighborhood in Rockaway, nothing but Curtis signs.
Yeah, I mean, when the mayor was still in the race, it seemed like the vote could splinter, and Sliwa actually had a chance. I mean, not to say that you can completely count him out now, but I think it's a different race now. I mean, not to get too much into the prognosticating, but I think with Sliwa and Cuomo in the race, we have to believe that they are going to split the anti-Mamdani vote. And what's funny is we hear so much about should Curtis Sliwa get out of the race so that Cuomo has a better chance of beating Mamdani. And I was just thinking about it today. What if Cuomo got out of the race? Because Sliwa, I mean, not to say that Sliwa necessarily has more support than Cuomo does, but if there was no Cuomo, Sliwa gets all of those, not all of those Cuomo votes, but he gets all the Republican vote. He gets some of that slice of the moderate votes. He got 28% last time. I don't know. You think he probably does better than that this time. But I mean, to answer your question, I mean, the guy is still, he's well known. He's been on the radio for what? Like decades now. Yeah. He's so recognizable. I mean, Dan, you've been at events with him. I've covered a couple of events, and people are walking past him on the street and yelling at him, maybe not always yelling positive stuff, but everybody knows who he is.
They do. And he says, Curtis says, he goes into neighborhoods where the only Republican people see is Abe Lincoln on the $5 bill. He's everywhere. He's ubiquitous. And I think people appreciate that because that's part of his political brand. He calls himself the populist Republican candidate, the populist blue collar candidate.
But what would he do? So, I mean, we know he's such a politics of personality, right? Like, we know who he is. We know he's taken off the beret. He's trying to get more serious, sitting down with business groups, labor groups, et cetera, to appeal to this broader electorate. But if he were elected mayor, what would that Sliwa administration actually look like?
It would be focused on law and order. He wants to be the law and order candidate and the law and order mayor.
Let's get to the actual law and order campaign, which I believe is one of my pathways to victory, because neither of my opponents are in any way, shape, or form associated with that.
Some of the policies he would introduce, of course, fix the NYPD's recruitment problem, and he wants to hire 7,000 more officers to the force, get it up to at least 40,000. He wants to bring the NYPD homeless outreach unit back. That was something de Blasio got rid of. He wants to maintain Rikers, keep it open. And he is really pitching himself as the law and order candidate and standing as a bulwark against some of the criminal reform laws that came out of Albany that Andrew Cuomo as governor signed. And part of his political effort, Sliwa has to make New Yorkers see that Mamdani and Cuomo are the same kind of Democrat with supporting the same weak on crime policies, whether that's the looser bail terms for criminal defendants, raising the age of criminal responsibility, and the like. And he's got other ideas too. He does think immensely about government, how it works, and how he wants it to work. So on the Republican side of things, beyond law and order, he's also talking about cutting the budget, cutting income tax in the city. He wants to see the corporate tax lowered. And that is a big difference between him and the two Democrats.
And congestion pricing
and he's
rebate.
Against congestion pricing.
Which I know Courtney's going to like.
A $500 commuter rebate.
I wouldn't mind that. That would be kind of nice.
By the way, can I just say, Sliwa, I think this week he got the endorsement of Rudy Giuliani this week. And did I see that he said he's going to be Giuliani 2.0?
He said Giuliani 2.0.
Which I don't know. I mean, I guess that appeals to some slice of the electorate.
One of Sliwa's problems is that he's not consolidating the Republican vote, such as it is in New York. And that is a reason why Cuomo is ahead of him, and that Sliwa is a distant third. Now, yes, I know there's different kinds of Republicans. Asian Americans in South Brooklyn are voting more Republican on education issues. There's still the old business, pro-business Republicans in Manhattan, but he's not consolidating them. Donald Trump, who has immense sway of Republicans around the country, treats Sliwa like a joke and made fun of him on Fox. That doesn't help.
He said he's not ready for prime time. Yeah. And he's going to bring cats into Gracie Mansion.
He used to have, 17 cats?
A lot of cats. Yeah. Let me just say, 6 or 7? He is an animal welfare advocate. Yeah. He is running on a third-party line named after animal welfare, things like protect animals. But he's not consolidating the vote he needs to be a real player yet. And maybe the Giuliani support can help. But he calls himself a populist Republican, but he's not MAGA. And he separates himself. He doesn't criticize Donald Trump, but he is in clear opposition to his policies. Like on immigration, he says, look, I want to get rid of the gangbangers and the drug pushers, but the working men and women who don't commit crimes and they're working. I don't want to see ICE, doing raids in restaurants. That's like a Kathy Hochul position.
Yeah, he's a Republican in the old way that we used to think of Republicans pre-Trump, right? And it's funny because, Dan, you asked him recently for a story that I was doing. You asked him why he hadn't gotten the Conservative Party endorsement. And he said, I'm not a conservative, right? On a lot of issues, on social issues, he's like pro-gun control, pro-abortion rights, pro-gay rights.
Oh, he said he administered like the first gay marriage in New York when he was a night manager at a McDonald's in the Bronx.
And the thing with the beret, it kind of it seems a little bit like a joke, but I think it's actually symbolic, but symbolic in a way that really says something important about his candidacy, which is that he feels like he wants to be taken seriously in a way that maybe he wasn't before. Not to say he wasn't a serious candidate in 2021, but I don't know that anybody really thought he could win that race. And now that it seems, or at least seemed for a time, that he really had a path to victory in this race, I think he recognized that he couldn't just be this character. He's always been this sort of showman, right? He's an entertainer. He had this radio show for decades, and he's also
got him in trouble in NY1's.
Yes, and we've actually talked about that in a different podcast.
He made crude remarks on it about a politician.
Well, and also he just made fun of every politician under the sun. But with the beret, and he plays this sort of cartoonish caricature of himself, and now he has to dial that back when he meets with Partnership for New York City and all these business leaders, and show them that he's actually somebody who can run the city.
Well, we're going to find out soon how he's going to appeal to a broad array of voters, because we're going to be having a debate in a couple of weeks, and we only have a few weeks left in the mayor's race. So keep listening, keep watching, but that's going to have to do it for this week's episode. You can always watch us on Inside City Hall Monday through Friday at 7 o'clock. Send us an email at yourstoryNewYork1@charter.com. You can subscribe to Off Topic wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Spotify, YouTube, Apple, etc. And if you like what you're hearing, leave a review. Thanks to our producer, Anthony Roman in the corner. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.